so much looking forward to the next session. And our next host is a regular speaker at our events, a friend and mentor. And he kindly shared with me the other day his wedding list, actually. And of course, they include the great and the good. And I was introduced to the next speaker as a result of that sharing of information. But I will now ask the chairman of the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance and chairman of the Hotelschool, The Hague, to introduce our speaker. Please welcome Wolfgang Neumann.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's great to be part again of Hospitality Tomorrow, and congratulations on a super program, very stimulating. It's my pleasure now to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Paul Stoltz, who will enlighten us and I'm sure also challenge us on how to achieve radical adaptability. Paul has been a recognized global top 10 thought leader. He's a member of Harvard University's Global Board of Business Mentors. He's frequently featured in the international media and is author of 5 international best-selling books, including one of my all-time favorites, The Adversity Advantage. Paul founded his own global research and solutions firm, Peak, some 30 years ago, and works with industry-leading companies across the globe, and is probably one of the adversity experts of our times. He has spent his entire lifetime researching the fascinating topic of adversity and helps individuals and companies as advisor and executive coach to optimize their response. So I guess we couldn't have a better or a more suited speaker than Paul to cover this very, very timely topic of adaptability. So over to you, Paul, for your words of wisdom, and I come back later to have a little short discussion with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hello, everybody from the Central Coast of California. Hello to all of you around the world. And Jonathan, wow, what an event. What a privilege to be part of it. The prior speaker, Marcus, was amazing. And I know everybody's gaining so much important information. And Wolfgang, what a delight to partner up with you for this. One of the great hoteliers of the world that I've ever seen and known. One of the great leaders of the industry. So thank you for the moment to share this with you. Our time together is brief. It's almost like a high-speed wine tasting where we kind of tap the reserve collection quickly and hopefully in a way to kind of sparkle your taste buds in a way that helps you maybe seek the full nourishment of the real meal that we'll serve up in the masterclass. So today's a little bit about the what, and the masterclass is more about the real how, rolling up our sleeves and diving in how to achieve radical adaptability. Now, let's just start with that term, okay? And I'm going to do a little bit of a screen share here in just a moment. But radical adaptability, I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron almost, isn't it? I mean, it's sort of like frenetic mindfulness. It's words that almost don't belong together. And so you put that together and go, what are we really talking about here? Well, let me share with you just a couple quotes that you will see, and I think that you will enjoy that relate to this directly. So first of all, let's start with this one right here. Chinese proverb says, a wise man adapts himself to circumstances as water shapes itself to the vessel that contains it. Well, that sounds so Zen-like and so beautiful, but let me ask you this. How do you feel about going with the flow? If we were to go with the flow as it's currently going, do you like where it leads? Are you happy with the vessel that is shaping us? Or is there something more? Another way to think about this, and I think this so applies to the hospitality world and especially travel. I love this quote from Tom Holt. It says, human beings can get used to virtually anything given plenty of time and no choice in the matter whatsoever. The moment that really struck me with travel, and I'm old enough to say this, I remember the moments where you got on an airplane and people almost fought for that window seat because you could see the miracle of flying in the sky, in the clouds, and to see the landscape as you went over it, and to get to know the land as you traversed it, right? Well, now what do you see on an airplane? Everybody shuts the shades and they get in on their devices and they get engaged and they shut the world off. Well, the moment that really hit me and almost brought me to tears was I was on this flight. It was across America after being overseas. I was on my last flight home, and the pilot gets on, and he, in an almost emotional voice, says, "Ladies and gentlemen, outside the left side of the plane, we are witnessing one of the most beautiful sunrises over the Grand Canyon that I've ever seen in my entire life. I encourage you to enjoy it with me." I was like, wow. So I look, and all, of course, the window shades are shut. I look at the whole plane. No one moves. Finally, I had to say something because I'm on the aisle seat, and I touched the guy next to me. I said, "Excuse me," because he's got his headphones in. "Would you mind popping the window shade so we can see this view?" And he's like, "Okay." And he lifts it like, is this going to take long? He doesn't even look outside. And I thought, we can adapt to pretty much anything given enough time and no choice in the matter whatsoever. And isn't that what we've seen so much of? But we are capable of so much more. And what better time to talk about radical adaptability than now? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of polling questions. I'm going to ask you to engage in these swiftly because our time is brief. Let's talk about peak or radical adaptability. Darwin said, adapt or die. This is the way nature works. But isn't there a higher level? What about radical adaptability? Historically, those are called mutations. And mutations create evolutionary leaps that allow a species to survive and thrive in ways they otherwise could not. What better time for us to have an evolutionary leap in hospitality and in our world than right now? In our model, let's talk about basic raw adaptability, what we call reactive adaptability. This is compliant, where we willingly or maybe even reluctantly go along with what is necessary and required. How much of that do we see in the world every day in every headline right now with COVID? Then we have so many consultants and leaders are engaged with your companies all over the world, which are sort of the active or strategic level, saying, okay, now we need to make some real thought, real decisions about when, what, and how we're going to deal with this, okay? So here's my polling question for you. We're going to serve this up, which is for the industry, the hospitality industry, what level has been most common so far, reactive or active? What level has been most common so far? Go ahead and respond to your polling question if you would, and let's see what we come up with in a matter of seconds, hopefully. And then I'll give you the second polling question, and we'll dive in, okay? So let's see what we say. What level has been most common so far? We'll give you another several seconds. Active or reactive? What has been most common so far with COVID? Think about the whole experience over these past 9.5 months. What is filling people's mindset, their behaviors? What are they spending so much of themselves doing? Okay. Go ahead. And Sally, if you're able to, are we able to see the results? Let's see what we have. So as we're waiting for the results, let's continue with the conversation. Here's what we've seen in our research on the subject around the world.
Paul,
And
you just need to vote to be able to see it. If you could just,
what about,
if you vote, then you'll be able to see the results.
oh, you want me to vote?
Yeah, then you'll see the results.
Okay, so I'll stop. Let's see if I go active. All right, I did it on my iPad. That doesn't matter. All right, let me see if I can see it over here. Okay. I'm not able to see it, but if that's all right, we'll just keep going. All right. So maybe what we'll do is, oh, there we go. There are the results. So 63% of you say reactive, and we're going to ask this question a second way. So the majority of our effort and energy has been going into reacting to, complying with. Look at all the regulations, all the protocols around cleanliness, around distancing, around masks, I mean, we're being pummeled with it all day, every day, right? That's what we've seen in the industry so far. How well does that speak to our higher possibilities? Now, here's the second polling question, and we're going to put it up again. What level has been most common with your customers so far? In other words, we look at what customers are doing. Are they adapting to COVID more reactively in terms of just kind of going along reluctantly or willingly and doing what they're supposed to do? Or are they doing it actively? Give us your answers if you would, please, right now. Okay? Let's see what we get. So what we find, again, across food and beverage, across travel, across hospitality, is that for the first several months of COVID, what we saw is that people were just trying to figure it out. Like, what is it you need me to do? A lot of people have been waiting, as we know, with airlines, with revenues down 70%, and of course with hospitality in general, with revenues down, conference revenues plummeting, all of that. We know that people have been basically in a wait and see mode and a very reactive mode. So go ahead, if you would, please, and vote on that. Great. So we see the vast majority are reactive. Okay, so we've made our point, haven't we? What our research shows is this. There is a higher level, and wow, is there an opportunity right now? We call this the proactive level, where now things are generative. We're actually seeking and creating the new reality, okay? Then it gets to a level we call radical adaptability, where we have locked into this flywheel of responding, embracing, and optimizing masterfully, decisively, and relentlessly this level of possibility out there. We can teach you how to do this, but today we're talking a little bit about what it's all about. Take this headline that just came out last week. The newest hotel amenity, virus scrubbed air, right? There it is. Well, let's talk about air for just a moment, okay? If we were to look at it in the context of our model here, reactive is, well, okay, I guess, we're supposed to control the temperature of our hotels to be more environmentally conscious. So everybody puts in thermostats that can only go to 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 degrees centigrade. And now we lock down the customer on their preference. And then we're not allowed to adjust our own comfort level in the room anymore. You tell us what to do, right? Then we say, okay, well, with COVID and all this stuff, there's some things we're supposed to do, like improve airflow maybe. So we say, which properties, when and where, and how are we going to roll out this new protocol? We're doing that actively. But proactively means doing something that makes it better. And you can write that down. That's the key difference. At this level, we're doing something that doesn't keep it the same, that doesn't just go along. At the proactive level, we're doing something that improves it, makes it better than it was before. So imagine the possibilities on that. And at a radical level, what we're doing is we're saying, let's think forward to what's even possible with a hospitality experience to have it be something that is better than they've ever experienced before, and that it wouldn't have existed without this adversity. That's where radical adaptability really kicks in. And that's where it gets exciting. So here's my final polling question for you, which is, now that we know about these levels, let's get inside this and be honest with ourselves. Of these 4 levels, which level is required to shape and achieve the aspirational future for hospitality tomorrow? Go ahead and make your vote right now. Notice that as the votes are coming in, so far we're not seeing one person saying, well, what we need to do is do what Darwin said, which is adapt or die. We need to comply. We need to go along. We need to be like water inside the vessel. What all of you are saying is that radical prominently and or at least at minimum proactive adaptability is required to achieve our aspirational future. Yet today, that is not where the energy has been going. I'll give you an example. And this is not to bash on one particular brand because they've been one of my favorites over the years. I went to Ritz-Carlton in Half Moon Bay, California. Lovely property, gorgeous, love the people there, wonderful staff, men, ladies and gentlemen of the Ritz-Carlton, as you know. I go in and they've got the plexiglass shields, they've got the marks on the floors, they've got their people in masks, and they're trying to manage traffic, right? But there were significant inconsistencies in the hygiene, in the pacing, the spacing, the management of traffic, the customer experience. And the customers, I was looking at us, the guests, and they were tense because they knew it wasn't going right. And so the customer experience was significantly degraded, even though they were complying, they were reacting to what was being required of them. To be the Ritz-Carlton of the future, what do they need to do? Something fundamentally different so that it's better than it ever was before. And that's what's called upon for all of us. So I can't wait in the masterclass to kind of talk you through some of the models and tools we have to help you elevate your level of adaptability. But here's a couple kind of spoiler alerts, if you will. At the level of peak or radical adaptability, there's a flywheel, and there's 3 primary steps here. First, we've got to learn to respond masterfully. Those who respond better and faster win, right? We know that there's a science behind this that we've measured in over 1 million people around the world. The second level is this discipline of embrace. When we embrace, that means we have to say yes to specific things and embrace them fully, all in. But we also have to say no courageously to a lot of what is assumed and expected. And that's very difficult to do, but it's very freeing because you can't achieve radical adaptability without it. And then we have to have this we have to optimize relentlessly, and that cycle goes. As that cycle goes, it changes because we begin like climbers, we begin to reroute. So we respond, reroute, and optimize, respond, reroute, and optimize. And you build this flywheel, which creates this competitive immunity. And like we were hearing Marcus talk about this boundless energy that attracts the best people and everything else. So in the masterclass, we're going to talk you through a tool called the Core Questions, which is about how we respond optimally to any and all challenges and opportunities. We're going to show you how to go beyond standard adaptation or adaptability, which is coping with a situation and adjusting to it, to go to the higher levels, even beyond what we've been teaching at Harvard Business School and MIT and Stanford and INSEAD and these schools I've been able to teach at, where they teach you to manage adversity. We're going to teach you how to harness it, which means to use adversity as a way to catapult yourself to a place you never would arrive before it. And what better time for the industry than now to be able to harness the adversity of COVID, to arrive at a level, to arrive at an experience for your guests, to arrive at a reality that never would have existed without the adversity we face right now. And that's the ultimate power and potential of radical adaptability. And I can't wait to show you how we do that in the masterclass together. We'll rise up, go beyond reactive and active, which is where everyone resides, and take you to the higher levels. So forgive my blasphemy, because Darwin said it's not the strongest or the most intelligent will survive, but those who can best manage change. I think there's more. The nuance I would give that in all due respect is this. It is not the strongest or most intelligent who will thrive, but those who can adapt most radically. And that's where I think we are. So let me tip back to you, Wolfgang, and I hope you'll pummel me with your toughest questions. Thank you for the chance to introduce this to everybody.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for this, how do you call it? The high-speed Grand Cru wine tasting. Very good, challenging.
Looking like a true hotelier. Thank you. Yes.
Now you challenge us to basically elevate our game, right? That's what you want to do. I want to try to put this a little bit into perspective now with you and explore with you the whole theme of radical adaptability as it relates to our industry, to the hospitality industry. Now you explained these 4 levels of reactive, active, proactive, and then radical. I guess none of us want to be reactive. I don't want to waste our time to discuss with you how we could be more active. But let's start by exploring the proactive approach and go a bit deeper. I mean, you described this as seeking and creating the new reality, right? And I mean, you are a frequent traveler. You travel all over the world. Tell us from your perspective, what should the hotel industry do to be more proactive? How can we seek and create a new reality?
Gosh, there's so many frontiers where that can happen. I mean, take just the experience of customizing to the individual, right? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of superficial technology that does that, where it sort of inserts your name and says, "Hello, Paul. Welcome to the and they kind of guide you through, but you can tell it's just this superficial touch of technology. I think there's an opportunity for this sort of mass personalization in the industry that's at a level we never experienced before. And, you know, you think about it, we're asking ourselves, is there room for radical adaptability? Look what the customer has done with Airbnb. I mean, basically they said, okay, you know, there's certain value in hotels, but maybe there's a way to get what I need in a whole different way. And now that company has $100 billion value on their stock offering, right? That was the biggest wake-up call of all. Why can't the hotel industry, given what we have in the infrastructure and staff and people we have and ingenuity and experience, blow them away? I mean, be able to do this in an even better way. And I think in every single facet of the experience, there's a chance to do that.
Okay, so you focus on the experience. I think that's certainly a good reminder for us and room for improvement to be more proactive. But let's elevate now our discussion and touch a little bit on the radical stuff. So when you look at the hospitality business from your perspective, going beyond the baseline, what do you think the hospitality industry needs to do to be radical in its approach?
Well, you know, you think about it, when we're talking about proactive and we're getting up to the higher level toward radical, we're talking about things being generative, I mean, making it better. So imagine if the best place you can imagine to get work done, the best place to relax and rejuvenate, the healthiest space you could be in, the most inspirational space you could collaborate in was actually at a hotel or somewhere in the hospitality space. That the air quality, the experience quality, the food quality, the whole thing. And by the way, you knew by putting your money there that you were contributing to something that actually makes the planet healthier. So like for you, Wolfgang, I mean, here you are on the sustainability thing, one of the leaders in the world on that whole conversation. I mean, the provocation is, can we sustain our way to greatness? I mean, because sustainability is kind of about maintaining what we have as long as possible, right? What if the hospitality industry, with all its heft, were to go to the next level and say, our mandate is to have what we do make the world better, restorative, regenerative world, rejuvenative for the world. That is a radical adaptability that I would put back to you in the role you have and with the people you deal with every day. What do you think about that?
Well, look, I mean, the hospitality business realizes that we have a critical role to play, right? I mean, we're at a tipping point. We all know this, and we've heard it in previous sessions. So we know we have to adapt our business model and the way we have to work. And, you know, you mentioned the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, where we have 25% of the global hospitality industry as members. And we certainly want to drive responsible hospitality for a better world. And it's a heck of a journey. We don't have to do it alone. But what you're basically saying is we should go beyond the sustainability and go to regenerative, because if you take a step back, so far we were talking about how we don't leave our ecosystem worse than we found it, but now you are saying in a regenerative approach we should make it even better. So that's a heck of a challenge you put in front of us here, because so far it's about net zero carbon impact, and now we want to go then to a net positive impact. I mean, that's a heck of a challenge, as Jim Collins would call it, a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. What role do leaders have in that journey, you think, of creating this massive step from sustainable to regenerative?
Well, you know, every one of us has the opportunity to be an exemplar of this. And it begins with today, right now. Have we even allowed ourselves to consider radical adaptability, to allow ourselves to consider that level first for ourselves within our own lives? I mean, look at your COVID experience. Have you survived it? Have you coped with it? Or have you used it to be a better person, a better leader, and be on a better journey in life and in your enterprise because it happened? And if we haven't gotten there yet, the good news is we still have more time, because it's going to be around a while. But it begins with us, and I think then we can lead ourselves, and then we can lead our people and enterprises to do this. But without this adversity, we never would have had the magnitude of opportunity we have right now in the hospitality industry to change the game, and to have this sort of evolutionary leap to mutate in a positive way.
Yeah, and you alluded this with your pyramid, it's a journey, right? And I mean, companies are now setting targets to be net zero by 2030 or by 2040. We aim to be net positive. That's a huge step in itself, but it's a journey. You gotta walk before you run.
You know, I challenge that just a little bit, because I don't think we have the time. I think we got to make that evolutionary leap right now. I think we need to say to ourselves, what are we doing with our property, our team, our enterprise, whatever it is, to make the world better, to make the planet healthier, and to make it that way for our guests. And it's all intertwined, it's all interconnected, it's all interdependent in a really powerful and energizing and rejuvenating way for us. But until we get that, we can't do that. And that's what excites me about the masterclass. And Jonathan, thank you for inviting me to lead that in January 19th, because together what we're going to do is explore exactly how do we do that. Unfortunately, we've had the opportunity to be doing this with companies all over the world. So I can't think of an industry where we can have a more positive impact than this one right now.
Thank you, Paul. That's wonderful. I think we all have a role to play in making this world better. In the masterclass of the 19th, you will help us a little bit more on diving into the how. Today was about the what. Stimulating. Thank you for these words. And back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Thank you, Jonathan.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Wolfgang. Thank you, Paul. And Paul, you joined us at our Hospitality Tomorrow 1 back in April. You were our speaker that gave us that resilience that we needed to bring with us for this past year. So thank you for everything you're doing. And so many takeaways there. Respond, embrace, optimize, use adversity to take us to the higher level. And I like what you're saying about we need to run now as well. We can't afford to walk. We've got to run. We've got to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jonathan.
Paul, thank you so much.